Hello, everyone, and welcome. I would like to take just a few moments to say thank you for joining us today. We did run into a little bit of technology challenge, and our presenter is working with our event services and our IT to join the online portion of today's event. So they will be with us momentarily. So while we wait for them to onboard with us, I just wanted to say again, thank you for joining us. Our team is going to present some general information related to financial aid and the types of financial aid that are available, some general information that you should have um, regarding maintaining eligibility for any eligible financial aid, and just to talk through just some general information that would be helpful for everyone to have. I also wanted to let everyone know that the 2026-2027 FAFSA application has recently become available. It was scheduled to open October 1, but they have opened it a little bit early. So those of you who will be in school again next year, I would recommend you go ahead and fill that out just as early as possible. And we are here to help you should you have any questions or need any assistance while doing that application. And our presenters will talk to you a little bit today about the FAFSA application and the kinds of things that it applies for. Let's see, and they are messaging me now, so give me just 1 second to see if they're ready to join us. Okay, looks like they're still having some trouble. So I'm going to see if we can at least get some presentation materials out and available to you all. I assume that we are currently working with Pellissippi State students, but if you are, whether you're inside Pellissippi or outside, we welcome you and we're glad to have you with us today. And again, I apologize for a little bit of technology challenges. It'll be just another moment. All right, looks like we have a little bit of an update. There is apparently a missing cable in the room where the presentation is taking place live that has kept them from connecting to us. So we are working on getting that resolved. It'll be just another moment. Um, and in the meantime, I'm going to go ahead and get the presentation out. If they can't get connected within just the next moment or two, I will move forward with our online presentation, and we will let them do their in-person. We will all still, everyone who attends will still be entered into the scholarship drawing. So give us just one more moment. I apologize. All right, let me see now if I can figure out how to share the presentation with you all. I'm so sorry, everyone. All right, it looks like one of our presenters is connecting now. I apologize for the delay. I'm also working on getting the presentation material itself shared, so you have that for reference. All right, while we wait on that, I'm going to go ahead and take some questions. I see some questions have been entered into the chat, so we're just going to start by answering those. So we do have someone who has inquired about recommendations for financing education in the future, especially for those planning to transfer. So some of you may be using programs like the Tennessee Promise or Tennessee Reconnect scholarships. Those are specific programs that are available to students who are pursuing an associate's degree or even a certificate or diploma through either the TCAT system or the community college system. Um, in addition to that, for those students who are looking to transfer beyond the initial certificate, diploma, or associate's degree, there are some transfer opportunities. So the thing that you want to be most careful about is reviewing the transfer scholarship at the institution you're interested in transferring to. I'm going to give you an example specific to UT. So UT Knoxville, it's right in our backyard and one of our big partners. So we do see a lot of students transfer there as well as several other of our community partners. But they have a scholarship specific for transfer students, but it does require that you transfer that you complete the associate's program. So it must be an associate of arts or an associate of science, not the associate of applied science. So that's very, very specific. But if you complete an Associate of Art or Associate of Science and you meet some minimum GPA requirements, then they do have a guaranteed transfer scholarship. So those are going to be big keys is to look at the university you plan to transfer to and look specifically at the requirements for their transfer-based scholarships. Some of them require that you successfully complete a specific number of credit hours. Some of them require that you complete the entire associate's degree. So that's going to be key, and it varies by school. Um, so I always recommend talk early with the financial aid office at your intended transfer institution. Sorry, just answering some more questions. Okay. Okay, let's see. Our next question, somebody's inquired about living on or near campus as they finish a bachelor's degree and what may be available to assist with things like that. Certainly, there are opportunities at the university setting, including those transfer scholarships. as well as some community partner scholarships. We always recommend that you apply for scholarships directly through your institution. Those are usually funds raised by the college or their foundation office, and they have a good deal of say in how those things get awarded. But there are also some extensive services, like there's an online website called FastWeb, FAST. FastWeb is a scholarship database that students can use to research scholarships that are offered by private industries, businesses, organizations, and things like that. Somebody inquired, is the nursing bridge and applied science? Um, so it again, it all depends on on where you're transferring to. So you want to verify that with your university. Okay. All right, so it looks like our live presenters have been unable to connect to us, so I'm just going to move forward with today's presentation. Okay. All right. So, in general, let's talk about what is financial literacy. So, it's kind of what it sounds like. It is the ability to understand and manage personal finances. So, not just financial aid, but personal finances, making informed decisions around borrowing money, saving money, how you choose to allocate your spending, all of those factor into financial literacy. Next slide. All right. Why does that matter in the college setting? Well, cost. That's what it all comes down to, right? You have not just your tuition and fees, but additional costs associated with attending college, like your books, supplies, materials. Some programs may have some very specific items that you have to have in addition to your regular textbooks. Um, and so we want to make sure that you can maximize your opportunities to cover those things. Financial aid can also be used to help you with those everyday expenses like housing, food, and transportation. We want to make sure that you have the ability to get to and from your classes and to try to minimize all of those potential barriers as it relates to expenses. We also strive to make sure that you can leave especially our institution, without without any unnecessary debt. So that would include, student loans, alternative loans, and all of the other things you can get in the private sector to help prepare you and put you in the best position for life after graduation. So as we discussed earlier, that free application for federal student aid, that's going to be step one for applying for any source of financial aid. The FAFSA must be completed each year and is typically open October 1 every year and applies for the upcoming school year. So those of you who are already in classes and you've already completed the 2025-2026 FAFSA, that's what's going to determine eligibility for the semester we're in, as well as the upcoming spring and summer semesters. The new 26-27 FAFSA application is what will tell us eligibility for the upcoming fall of 2026. So you do apply for that every year. And that is the base application for all federal aid, Pell Grant student loans, federal work study, but it also must be completed to be eligible for any of our Tennessee state programs, like the Tennessee Student Assistance Award, Tennessee Education Lottery scholarships like HOPE, or foster care dependent grants, Tennessee Promise, Tennessee Reconnect, just about anything that's offered through the feds or the states. Okay. Pell Grant is federal funding and it is made available to students based on a calculation from the FAFSA using the Student Aid Index. And the amount of aid that you're eligible for is offered at a maximum amount of $7,395 for the year for 2025-26. And that is based on full-time attendance. So students who attend less than full-time, that maximum award will prorate based on the number of credit hours you attend. And federal student aid does not require minimum attendance. So you could take as few as one course or as many as, 15, 18 credit hours, and the federal Pell Grant will adjust. Some other programs have some minimum requirements. Okay. Tennessee Student Assistance Award is awarded by the state of Tennessee through the TSAC office, and it is awarded to low-income students, and it is based on that FAFSA application. It's $2,000 per academic year for a maximum of 4 semesters, and it has a limited pot of funding, so it is awarded first come, first serve based on data FAFSA application. So you want to make sure that you apply early. They will award those funds until the funds are exhausted. So you could technically be income eligible but not receive that award if you don't apply, if you don't submit the FAFSA application early enough. Okay. The Hope Scholarship is part of the Tennessee Education Lottery funded programs, and students must graduate from high school eligible for this program. You graduate eligible based on completing high school with a 3.0 GPA and or a composite ACT score of 21 or higher. The amount is up to $1,600 at the community college level or freshman sophomore level. And it does increase a little bit for juniors and seniors at the university level. And that's one of the great things about the Hope Scholarship is it will transfer with you. So those of you looking to transfer on to complete a bachelor's program, you can take the Hope Scholarship with you. Now, the Hope Scholarship does require that you maintain satisfactory academic progress as it relates to financial aid standards, but also that you maintain the minimum required GPA that is checked every 24 credit hours. So at 24 and 48 credit hours, you must maintain a 2.75 GPA, and you need a 3.0 GPA after that. So for those of you transferring to the university, you want to make sure that you pay close attention to that GPA. It's surprising the amount of effort that it takes to go from a 2.75 to a 3.0 once you get past 48 credit hours. Because just remember that's overall cumulative. Tennessee Promise is a last dollar scholarship that is awarded to students graduating from eligible Tennessee high schools or homeschool programs. It will cover tuition and mandatory fees after other federal and state aid has been applied. Okay. It does not cover course specific fees, and it doesn't cover things like books or supplies or materials beyond that basic tuition. It does require that students complete 8 hours of community service for each semester of attendance. You must maintain a 2.0 GPA, so it is definitely possible that you could be eligible for Tennessee Promise but not be eligible for the Hope Scholarship because of the GPA differences. Tennessee Promise also does require that students be enrolled full-time or 12 credit hours every fall and every spring semester. Summer attendance is not required for Tennessee Promise. Tennessee Reconnect is a similar program for our adult students. Tennessee Reconnect is available for students who are independent on the FAFSA application. You must complete the FAFSA and apply separately for Tennessee Reconnect using the state website. And it again requires that you maintain that 2.0 GPA. The biggest difference for Tennessee Reconnect is that it requires half-time enrollment, so at least 6 credit hours every fall and spring. It does not require full-time enrollment and it does not require summer enrollment. So again, you'll see that theme, the 2.0 GPA, and both the Tennessee Promise and Tennessee Reconnect have a maximum amount of time for which you can be eligible for those programs. So it's always important to keep up with where you stand in your academic progress. Federal student loans come in two primary types. You have your subsidized student loans, which mean there's no interest on those while you are in school. An unsubsidized loan has interest that begins accruing the day the loan becomes fully dispersed. So those are the two types of federal student loan programs. Students are eligible for those just simply based on completing the FAFSA application. But if you do choose to access your student loan eligibility at Pellissippi State, you do need to accept your loans, and you accept those by completing the loan acceptance worksheet in your My Pellissippi. And subsidized loans require some income eligibility requirements, but all students are eligible for unsubsidized loans unless you already have a bachelor's degree or are in default on a student loan. We always encourage student loan borrowing as your last source of financial aid funding. It is borrowed money that must be repaid with interest. And defaulting on a student loan can have some very serious consequences. So we always encourage you to be extremely cautious when considering student loans. And there are some materials that we have available to help you be informed about the decision to use student loan eligibility and all the different types of repayment options that are available. So we've already talked about the subsidized student loans. They are lower in long-term cost. Again, there's no interest on that while you're in school. And with both subsidized and unsubsidized loans, you get a 6-month grace period from your last date of attendance, whether that's the last day you attend at least half time, whether you graduate or transfer. It's just once you stop attending, you get a 6-month grace period before you go into loan repayment. Unsubsidized loans, again, there's no need, financial need is not considered for that. So students are generally eligible for an unsubsidized loan, but it does accrue interest from the time that loan is first dispersed. So it's building interest while you're in school, and unpaid interest is capitalized while you're in deferment, which means that interest grows on top of itself. Okay. Loan limits are based on your FAFSA dependency status. So a dependent student can borrow up to $5,500 per year. An independent student can borrow $9,500 for that freshman year. Sophomores, it's $6,500 and $10,500, and those are the caps. And that amount does increase as you transition to a junior. And there are some lifetime maximums to be aware of as well. All right. One of the great tools available to all students on studentaid.gov is the loan simulator. So if you're considering student loans or have already borrowed student loans, I would highly recommend you take a look at the loan simulator. It is going to give you some estimates on information of what your repayment would look like based on total borrowing. So if you're thinking about borrowing and you're, struggling between, do I borrow just tuition? What's the difference going to be if I borrow a little bit extra to cover the books and the materials, or can I swing that out of pocket? The loan simulator will help you see what is the cost of the loan over the lifetime of the loan and loan repayment, as well as what a monthly payment would look like so that you can compare the multiple loan repayment plans that are available. There are some standard plans as well as some based on income, or some that start off low and increase as your earnings or distance from degree increases. Federal Work Study is an excellent opportunity for students to work while they're in school. It is based on the FAFSA application, and you can apply for that in your My Pellissippi using the handshake link. In your My Pellissippi, you can go to the student job opportunities. You can also visit the career webpage on the Pellissippi State website. Federal Work Study is part-time employment. It's usually up to 20 hours a week. It's usually usually positions on campus. But federal work study can also um, pay students for community service activities. So if you volunteer, let's say you walk dogs at the animal shelter as a passion or a hobby or just to give back to your community. If you are also a student, then it's possible that Pellissippi State could pay you for those community service hours for those education majors. If you wanted to get plugged in to your local elementary schools and do reading programs or reading with the kids, tutoring in K-12, then the federal work study program could potentially pay you for those hours. So it gives you some career experience that is resumeable. It gives you paid, and it also gives the community partners some volunteers that they desperately need that they would not be able to pay themselves. So we encourage you to apply for that. Also available here at Pellissippi State is the Foundation Scholarship. So the foundation raises funds to support all of our students, and you can apply for those scholarships on our website. It's one application that applies for all of the different scholarships that are offered through our foundation's office. They may have some different requirements, but again, it's just one application, and they're going to evaluate to see if you're eligible for any of the over 200 scholarships that are offered through that office. They do award a significant amount of money throughout the year. So I encourage you, if you have not done so already, to please apply for the scholarship. Now, that scholarship application is specific to Pellissippi State. Some other things that we would strongly recommend would be to consider creating a student budget. Okay, so we know everybody has general expenses. Whether you're in college or not in college, you're going to have some basic things like housing, food, standard medical care, transportation, and things of that nature. But you also want to factor in, of course, your tuition and fees, any extra materials that you may need. And there are some great tools out there to help students evaluate their current spending habits and make a plan for managing the resources that you do have available to you. One of the things that we see a lot with students, especially students who are eligible for multiple sources of financial aid, it is possible that at the very beginning of the semester, or about 2 weeks after your semester starts, students may receive those excess aid refunds. And we always want to remind students that that financial aid that is refunded to you is really designed to support you through your academic semester for those things like tuition, fees, housing, and food and transportation. But most students get that once a semester at the beginning of the semester, and it's really important that you make a plan to ensure that those funds can help sustain you through the entirety of the semester. What we don't want is for you to get to October and then be out of money. So it's always best to plan and manage how you spend what resources you do have available, whether that's personal income, family support, or financial aid. Okay. And some of the things that we can encourage students just for building the base or a foundation for financial success is be cautious with borrowing. Whether you're talking about student loan funds, private loans, or even just credit card debt, you want to be very cautious about borrowing more than is absolutely necessary. Remember, borrowing funds should be for need items and not want items. I may need a laptop or a textbook to participate in my class. I may want an expensive laptop for gaming. Remember, those are different, and you want to make sure that you limit your borrowing to needs, not the wants. It can get really expensive really fast. Apply for your scholarships every year. They're just like the FAFSA and have to be reapplied for each year. We also encourage you to build a small emergency fund, even if it's just a little bit at a time. That way, when emergencies do happen, because let's face it, they do, if you don't have an emergency fund, a small emergency like a flat tire could turn into a very big emergency when you're unprepared. So even if you're just saving a couple of dollars here and there, building that small cushion can make a huge difference in the long run. One of the things that we as Americans do in general are subscriptions. There's a subscription for everything these days. All of the online streaming services, all the food delivery things. I myself am obsessed with my ebook subscription. But it's really easy for those things to kind of happen in the background, especially if they're set on an auto debit or auto pay each month. So you want to make sure that you do a regular subscription audit and don't pay for services that you don't need. Okay. We already talked a little bit about avoiding the credit card debt. Credit cards can spiral quickly. So again, remember, if you are using borrowed money, you want to make sure that you're using that for something that is a need and not something that I want. Don't put your daily Starbucks on a credit card. Okay, it's just a bad idea. Avoid those payday loans or unnecessary debt. Things like those payday loans typically have very large interest rates. So, in the end, it is expensive to borrow in that manner. So, be cautious and be informed about the overall cost when you are borrowing money in whatever format it is. And check your credit score. You can check your credit score and even get a free credit report from each agency every year. So we always recommend that you do that. Checking your credit score is not only going to keep you informed about your situation, but it will also help you catch early any potential issues, discrepancies, or heaven forbid, fraud attempts. If you're informed on your credit score, if you're aware of what your credit report looks like, it will make it much easier to identify when something shows up that's just out of the ordinary. Okay. And so we've talked about a whole lot of stuff today in a very short amount of time. So we wanted to make sure you have some resources here. We talked about the FAFSA. We talked about applying for Tennessee Promise or Tennessee Reconnect. We talked about some scholarship websites like FastWeb, um, and some budgeting tools that are available online. And as always, don't forget the Pellissippi State Foundation Scholarship. The other plug I want to give you about our foundation scholarship is that they do also have an emergency assistance. So let's say you're cruising through the semester and you feel like you're doing okay, you're managing okay, but then you do have that emergency, like that unexpected flat tire that's going to prevent you from getting to class or getting to work or getting, through your regular day. There are some emergency funds that are also offered through our foundation office through the Student Opportunity Fund. So the school is here to help support you in your educational journey and everything that you need to get through the semester, not just tuition and fees. We're here to help. All right. So we have come to the end. I'd be happy to stay on and try to answer any questions that you may have. And you can enter those in the Q&A for those of you who are online. And it looks like we had a couple of questions about the student loans, as well as the forms you can fill out in My Pellissippi. So quick recap on student loans. So through the Department of Education, we have two student loan programs. That is the subsidized and unsubsidized federal student loans. Subsidized student loans do not have interest while you are in school at least half time. Both loan programs have interest once you go into repayment. The difference with subsidized and unsubsidized is the unsubsidized student loan starts accruing interest from the time the loan is fully dispersed. So it's going to build interest while you're in school. Okay, so that increases the amount that you would repay overall with student loans. Okay. There are also alternative student loans that are available. Those are offered through private entities and organizations. Um, and you would just apply for those through those private services. Those are going to be generally your banks, like Sallie Mae, your local credit union, Y12, any of those public institutions. Okay. Somebody had asked about what was the form you apply in your My Pellissippi. So I think there were two forms we mentioned that are available there. The first is the foundation scholarship. You could just go to the Pellissippi State website, type in scholarship and search. It'll take you directly to the information about the foundation scholarship. The other thing that you can apply for in your My Pellissippi is our federal work study. So if you are interested in working on campus, you can get to that application in your My Pellissippi, as well as through the career services link on the Pellissippi State webpage. For those interested in work study, or if you haven't considered work study as an option, work study pays between $14 and $16 an hour based on experience, um, and can really be helpful for tight schedules. We have some people who just come in and work for an hour between classes, or come in and catch an hour or two at the end of the day before leaving campus. So it really does let some students increase the amount of time or hours that they can work by not having to travel off campus if you're doing an on-campus job. Okay. Let's see. Somebody has asked if there will be a recording available of the webinar. Um, I believe there will be. Erin, are we recording? Okay. Yes, we are recording and it will be made available for review later. Also, with the technology challenges that we have, we can certainly look into A, making sure that this gets shared out, but B, maybe also offering it again in a little bit of a smoother format. It is also going to be available on the Pellissippi State's YouTube channel, so we can get that information to you, and if you need any help finding that, feel free to reach out to me. My name is Wendy Floyd. I'm the Director of Financial Aid here at Pellissippi State Community College, and you can reach me by email if you need a link at wmfloyd@pstcc.edu. Um, let's see. We can also make sure that the presentation itself gets shared for anybody who may want access just to an overview. Okay. We do look at doing some type of financial literacy event. We'll have another event scheduled in our spring semester. It will be on a different topic, but we'll try to get that information out to everybody just as soon as possible. And again, this is being recorded, and you can access that online um, and on the Pellissippi State YouTube channel. Any other questions? Okay. And so somebody else had asked about attendance. So when you logged in, you should have had to have logged in using some kind of credential like name, student ID. That information is necessary to be in the drawing for the scholarship. So once this event concludes, we will take the list of students who participated in the online event as well as those who participated in the in-person event. We will put them all of the names in a drawing for a scholarship offered through our foundations office. And then we will contact the scholarship winner by Pellissippi State email to let you know that you've received that and how to get that scholarship certificate. Um, let's see. We did receive a question about whether or not community service pays the same as federal work study. Our community service positions are part of the federal work study program, but all community service positions do pay on that higher end at the $16 an hour. So especially for those of you who are already doing something community service related, let us support you in that endeavor. And if you're not already doing something community service related, reach out to us and let us help you find that opportunity. Okay. Any other questions? The email for the scholarship is going to come directly from the financial aid office. So that, and it will say financial literacy scholarship winner as the subject. So we will definitely get that out to you. Um, and it will most likely come from an individual, such as Jamie Lemons, David Barreto, or Wendy Floyd, but we'll also try to make sure that we send something through maybe our Start Strong Center as well. But we will make that drawing later today. So you should have that email. The scholarship winner should have that email no later than tomorrow. Okay. Okay. And if you logged in, if you joined us without registering, or if you logged in without using some kind of a credential, um, I believe you can enter um, in the chat your name and student ID, or your name and Pellissippi State email. Your Pellissippi State email is where we're going to communicate the scholarship winner. Um, So you can certainly put your name and email address in the chat, and we will make sure that that is added to our scholarship drawing. Let's see. Our technical help is saying please email the Start Strong at pstcc.edu. So if you attended today's event virtually, but it didn't ask for any type of login, if you will email startstrong at pstcc.edu, or if you need a copy of today's recording, we can handle that as well. Be sure, if you are emailing to tell us you attended today's event, that you are sending that email from your Pellissippi State email. A personal email or a non-Pellissippi State email will not be entered into the scholarship drawing. It's got to come from your Pellissippi State email. Okay. So send from your Pellissippi State email your name and email address to startstrong at pstcc.edu. And you're just going to say in that subject, if you would please include financial literacy registration as your subject. That's going to let us quickly identify anybody who sends those emails today so that we can get you in that drawing. And so with that, with knowing that there are some people who may need to do that, we will hold that drawing till I'd say 4 o'clock today. So if you attended and did not sign in, providing some type of credential and need to email us, if you will send us that email from your Pellissippi State email by 4 o'clock today to ensure that you're in for that drawing. Okay. Thank you so much to everyone who attended today. And please feel free to reach out to the financial aid office if you have any questions. I know some of you had some questions that may be very student specific, and we would be happy to address those with you and provide as much guidance as we can, especially on those transfer things. It gets a little more complicated because the options vary so much by school, but we'd be happy to help you on a one-on-one basis. Just feel free to come and see us. We'll be happy to